Welcome you guys to Talk with Saniyyah. This season 2, it's revamped, new guests, new topics. I'm so excited to be back. I'm here today with my guest, relationship expert Wayne Smith. How are you doing today, sir?
All is well.
All is well. I wanted to bring you on my show because I come across a lot of people and we have these discussions about relationships. And so I thought you were the perfect person to bring on for relationships. So from a man's perspective, what is your thoughts about women and men dating?
It's not really my perspective. It's what I see from the Word. From the Word, there is no frivolous dating in the Bible. If you're going to date, it's a purpose. If you're dating all these different people, what it does is it sets up some things that were never meant to be. So now you have soul ties with different individuals that you never should have been attached to.
Okay, so I understand it from a biblical perspective because I study. But let's break it down in terms of for worldly people that don't know the word.
Okay.
So when you date, you're saying you should date with a purpose, because I know some people today they're with one person, next month they're with somebody else. And I know you have also heard the term, you have to try it before you buy it. What is your thoughts about that?
That's foolishness. First of all, if you're going to try everything as far as who you're dating, by the time you get married, you're going to be all tried up.
I agree. But some people would say, well, I have to try. And that's my perspective. To me, in terms of respecting your temple, your body, how many people are you going to allow try you out before you get married? So I completely agree with you. And going back to relationships in terms of dating, because a lot of people, I see it from a biblical perspective, because I know everything that we do we are taught, it has substance. It's a reason or a way to protect us. But for people that don't know the word in a worldly perspective, they wouldn't understand that. So they would just say, well, what's wrong with dating? So I'm going to ask you, what is wrong with dating?
What is wrong with dating? From a world's standpoint, the world have different standards than we do. So if you're not willing to live by biblical principles, it's pretty hard to say to you, this is the way to do it.
But not necessarily, and I'm going to tell you why, because the word never changes. Regardless if you believe it or not, it's still applicable. It's still going to apply to you.
Correct.
So
Yes,
I'm going to say in terms of, like, for example, I believe in when it says, the Bible tells us basically that we shouldn't have sex till you get married. A lot of people will disagree, but I feel if we all did that, you wouldn't have baby mama drama, baby daddy drama. You wouldn't have blended families. You wouldn't have this mother, this father interfering in the household of this household because you did it properly. So let's just throw out the Bible for a second, but we can still talk Bible because it still applies. So in terms of that, when you say, when we talk about, not having sex until you get married, a lot of women I've heard say, well, guys won't be interested if they don't have sex. What is your take on that? Because I actually disagree.
Well, going from there, if you're talking about, it depends on what you're looking for. Because from a male's perspective, if she's that easy, I'm looking at the fact that she's that easy for me, she's going to be that easy for the next person. I can't speak for anybody else, but if I'm going to be with a woman, I need her to make me feel special. So if Johnny will do, or Ricky will do, if Willie will do, or Bobby will do, then she don't need me, she just needs a man. So if all she's looking for is a man, I really don't want to spend my time with her anyway.
Right. I completely agree, but different people have different views, and that's why I wanted to bring you on the show. Because even in terms of relationships, marriage is not sacred. It's something that people just do to do. And people are not wanting to get married because they feel like infidelity is a huge issue. What is your take on that? Or what would you tell someone that came to you for advice and they were saying, I don't want to get married because he or she's going to cheat anyways.
Well, if you believe that the person you're with is going to cheat anyway, why would you even get with them? And if you have that concept in your mind where you believe all people cheat, then you need to change your thinking. Because first of all, if you tell me all people cheat, then what you're really telling me is you're a cheater. Because if that's how you think, you can't get past the way you think because that's who you are. But don't judge me based on who you are, because all people do not cheat.
Right.
All men do not cheat. You have to come to that point where if you are not happy with what you have, of course you're going to cheat. Some people cheat just because they don't know any better. When I grew up, I was a cheater myself because I didn't know any better. But as you learn, you should do better. But to say that I don't want to get married because you're going to cheat anyway, well, if you're going to cheat, I don't think I want to be with you anyway, because who's to say what you're going to bring me home?
Right. Okay. I love the fact that you brought all that up, because even with infidelity, a lot of people will say stuff like, I had a conversation with someone and their perspective was they talked to different guys, and the guys would say, I cheated because she nags too much, or I cheated because she doesn't make me feel special. Now, my perspective, even from a therapist perspective, I feel like every action is a decision. It's
Correct.
A thought first, and then there's an action. So you
Correct.
thought about cheating before you cheated. So my thought is, no one can make me do something that I don't want to do.
Correct.
So if you're saying you cheated because she's nagging or he did this, I don't believe that. I feel like there's an inner issue, because if you didn't like it, you wouldn't do it. So when people tell me that and I hear those concepts, it's like, okay, you're saying you're cheating because he or she's doing this. But from a man's perspective, if you just want to cheat because she's nagging, would you cheat with a guy? You wouldn't cheat with a guy because you don't like it. You only cheat with a woman because it's satisfying something within you. What is your perspective about people that make excuses for cheating because of what someone's actions or what someone did that they say bothered them or hurt them or whatever?
Well, again, it goes back to what you just said. I can't blame my actions or my reactions on what you do.
Right.
I am not responsible for what you do.
Right.
But I am responsible for how I react to what you do. So first of all, if you're nagging or you're doing all those things that I don't like, why am I with you? That's the bottom line to it right there.
But I want to stop you real quick,
ahead.
because you're saying, why are you with me? But in relationships, there may be conflict. So let's just be honest with that. There may be conflicts. But if your first response is to go cheat, to me, there's an inner issue with you and you don't know how to resolve conflict.
Well, see, even when you say conflict, I'm not willing to deal with that much conflict in a relationship.
Okay, well, nagging. Okay, let's say, for instance, something as simple as, let's say someone in a relationship or their spouse, significant other, whatever, will not engage with them intimately, sexually, as much as they want to, so they go out and cheat. So what would you say to something like that?
I think the first problem with that, it's not so much the sex. The problem really is communication. First of all, it's a lack of communication. And here's the other thing that you have to understand. There is no perfect people, but there is somebody that is perfect for you.
Right.
So first of all, when you go looking for people or whoever you're looking for and you get somebody that is not matched up or lined up with you, that's going to be a problem right off the top.
Right.
So first of all, you need to go about choosing differently than what you've been choosing. Now, if you come into a relationship with somebody and you see they're constantly nagging, 9 times out of 10, if you pay attention, they'll show you the signs of who they are much earlier in the relationship before all this occurs.
Right.
The problem is many times we will not adhere or we see something and we try to discard it. I say this all the time, and I'm a true believer in this, okay? If you're walking down the street and you have a dog on your leash, you may not know what kind of dog it is, but you know you have a dog, right? So if you didn't want a dog on your leash, unhook your leash from his collar.
I agree. I completely agree with you. And I want to go back because when you said I'm speaking for myself, all men don't cheat. Because I hear a lot of people say, well, that's just a man's nature. We're born into sin and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. I believe that every person has their own weaknesses. I believe that everyone has their own stronghold. One man may cheat, but another woman or man, that may not ever be an issue for them. So when you hear people put I think it's a book or something, women are from Venus and men are from Mars. I personally don't believe every man and women think the same, because that would be ludicrous, because we are individuals and we have our own individuality. We have our own personality. We love and we do different things. So when you hear people come to you and say, well, I'm just a man, this is what I do, all men do this, what is your perception of that?
That's foolishness. And again, he's telling you who he is. Now, if you decide to go along with that, well, you're pretty much, whatever you get, you're pretty much asking for it. Because again, even as you say no, I hate when people say women think this way.
Because I don't
think this way.
Right. You can't put me in a box based on my gender.
One of the things I constantly hear is women like to shop, right?
I don't.
Well, I do. And I'm a man.
I don't.
And I like to shop.
If I don't like to window shop, I go in, I want to get what I want, and I want to leave. If I don't have no money, I don't want to window shop.
I can do that too. But what I've learned when people are telling you that men think this way, women think that way, that is really a ridiculous statement. First of all,
don't you think it's a stereotype?
It's very much so. Very much so. But more so, it is foolishness. Because, first of all, when you say most people, that's another term.
You haven't met most people.
I don't like to hear that term, most people. There's billions of people in the world. You haven't talked to most people.
I'm guilty of saying most people. I'll change that.
That's a bad statement.
It is.
And then when you say, well, statistics say, well, who did you talk to?
That's true.
Because if you would have talked to me, you would have got a different outcome to whoever the 100 people were you talked to.
Right.
So that's based on who you talk to.
I agree.
So that doesn't tell you, it doesn't really say this is the way it is. It says this is how it is
with these specific
with the people that you talk to.
Right.
So you can't go by that, because it's said many times that women are sensitive, right? And men are more, how's it put?
Masculine.
No. Men are more visual, right?
I'm a visual, so.
That's what is said all the time. Men are visual.
Right.
Women are more sensitive, right?
Right.
So that to me, again, is foolishness. I'm very sensitive. So when you hear a man is sensitive, people want to tell you that he's in touch with his feminine side. I don't have a feminine side.
Okay, because I want to stop you right here. Because as a therapist, I feel like the reason why men are not allowed to be sensitive, or boys, is because we teach them that. No, don't play with a doll. No, you don't cry. Boys don't do that. And I believe, even as a mother, when you have a young son and you tell him he can't play with the doll, to me, that's kind of contradicting to teaching him how to be a father, because kids learn how they play. See, we let girls play with dolls because we think she's going to be a mother. But at the same time, a boy is going to grow up to be a father. So when you say you can't play with that doll, you can't feed that baby, isn't that like covertly teaching them guys don't interact with babies? Or let me go a step further. Even to say when little boys don't cry, we're teaching them to hide their feelings. And when you look at suicide statistics, you have more guys that will commit suicide before they talk to someone, because we don't teach men or young boys to show emotion. To show emotion for a man, we teach is weak, when reality it's a strength.
Correct. Here again, even when you say that, as far as playing with dolls, I never wanted to play with a doll. But
would you tell your son he wouldn't be able to play with a doll? He couldn't feed a doll, change a doll's diaper.
Here's the thing that we say and look at anyway. You talk about you don't want little boys to play with dolls. but yet they play with G.I. Joe.
It's the
It
dog.
was still a dog.
Right.
I think it's a matter of what you teach your sons, because again, it's taught as a weakness for the male to cry. Again, that's foolishness.
And that's a strength.
That's foolishness.
Right.
Because real men cry.
Right.
And real men are not afraid or ashamed to cry. See, I know who I am, and because I know who I am, I'm not really concerned about what you think. You follow what I'm saying? Because what you think does not dictate who I am.
Right.
I know who I am. So if something really bothers me, I might cry because God has made me sensitive. So does that make me weak? Not at all.
So I'm glad that you said that, even going back to, because we're talking about relationships, even with men growing up, I see a lot of broken men and women, but a lot of it is because of what is being taught when they are
Agreed.
kids.
Agreed.
So when you have a man that can't show his emotions or speak it out, how does he deal with things that are bothering him? So is that the first reaction to go cheat? Because I had a conversation with a girl not too long ago, and she was saying, no, that's just what they do. And she talked to different guys, and I'm like, no, it's an inner issue because
Yes, it
you
is.
haven't learned how to deal with certain things. What is your take on that?
Well, again, if they have not been taught,
They
from
don't know
the time
any
they're
better.
children, they don't know any
Right.
better. So if this is what you've been taught all your life, then you think it's normal. Okay? So when you're taught all your life, and you may be taught that at home, society teaches that, you look at TV, it's taught all around you that it is like a normal thing for a man to cheat. So you grow up, if nobody is speaking into you to teach you the right way, you think this is normal. So until you come to the place where you learn, no, this is not normal. No, I don't have to have 5, 6 women. I can have just the one. Until you learn that, yes, you're going to cheat, because this is like what you've been programmed to do. But the saddest part to me is not even that he's been programmed to cheat, but what's sadder is you've been programmed to accept it.
Right.
That's what's sad.
Okay, so I'm glad everything that you're saying, because I talk to so many different people and we discuss these things, and they don't get it when I say the exact thing that you just said, because they think, oh no, man, every man is going to cheat.
No.
And I'm like, no, that's not reality. So I want to go back a bit when you said you used to be the cheater. What made you want to be the cheater?
Because when I looked around me, it was like cheating was portrayed as, actually it made you macho, it made you cool. The more women you had, the cooler you were. Everybody looked up to the guy who had all the girls. So that's who you wanted to be. So again, that was portrayed as what's normal. The guy that didn't have the girls, he was kind of looked on as the nerd. And it felt good. Let's be real about it. It felt good.
To be the nerd felt good?
No,
to be the cheater felt good.
To be the cheater felt
Okay, because I'm glad that you said that, because what is it with the women that they go after the bad guy? And it's kind of like the good guys get the bad rap, because the person that you could see they're good for you and they have all the qualities that you need, but women always seem to veer off to go to the bad guy. What do you think it is about a bad guy that attracts women to them when everything, red flags are being thrown out everywhere saying this is not the guy for you?
I think it's two things, okay? One, everybody has a design they're drawn to, okay? And sometimes that might be the right design, but just the wrong person.
Explain that a little bit further.
Well, you're going to have, when I say design, the design is a type. It's a type that you're drawn to. And it's not necessarily a bad guy, because for some reason people always see me as the bad guy, okay?
Even now, you're still.
Even now.
Okay.
Even now.
Was your past because of your past, or?
No, they just tell me that I have that aura about me. I don't know. They say I come off as the bad guy, but that's not me. Okay, so I think people look and they're basing a lot of things on what they see, and many times you're looking at something from the outside and not really getting a chance to see who somebody really is. And that's going to make all the difference in the world. The exterior is a good thing.
What do you mean the exterior?
Nobody wants to
Not be
have
attracted to
somebody
somebody.
that nobody wants to look at, not even you.
Right.
Okay?
Well, it doesn't matter if no one else wants to look at them as long as you do.
Well, that's somewhat true. You don't want to walk down the street with somebody that everybody think they're ugly but you.
Wait,
Because
okay, so
it's
from
gonna
a,
cause you to
okay,
look at them again.
okay, I would differ, but, okay.
Well,
Because I feel like if I feel like you're attractive, what everyone else does doesn't really matter.
well, let me go back. If you're talking about yourself or am I talking about myself? Yes, because I don't really.
So you wouldn't want someone that everybody thought was unattractive.
No. If I'm talking about me just personally per se, I don't care what you think.
Right.
I don't care how you feel about it because I'm the one that's going to be with that person.
Right.
But I'm talking about more so now as a whole. Many people do not want to walk down the street with nobody wants to look at but them. You follow me?
So is it like a prized possession?
It could be. It could be. I had a friend, he liked a girl, and when he would see me coming, several times that I finally caught him with her, but he would try to make her leave before I could get up to the car. He never wanted me to see her.
Do you think that's like an ego thing?
It could be, but the point was, well, I guess she was ugly to him too, though.
So then why be with somebody that you're not attracted to?
It depends on why you're with somebody. And see, even with that, let's go back, because when you say that, this is what it makes me think of, is many times when somebody is cheating on you, many times it has to do with what they're getting out of the relationship from you. You follow me?
I get what you're saying.
Because
so whether that be sex, whether it be money, conversation, love, whatever.
Yeah, because if they're feeling fulfilled in the relationship, then there's really no need to cheat. But sometime again, like you said, sometimes the fulfillment is not, it has nothing to do with you, but it's what's lacking on the inside of them, or even what they have not been taught. So as you learn, because when you're looking, you've been been taught a certain way, then you respond a certain way.
Right.
So you think this is the way to go. But as we were saying earlier, once you come to the point where you begin to learn something different, because again, I thought that was cool and it felt good. But in my mind, I thought I really needed to have a different woman every 2 or 3 weeks.
That's just crazy. But did you ever think about AIDS or STDs or anything like that?
Well, many times you're thinking about it's not going to happen to you. Very crazy thinking, right? But many times that's where we're at. Until you really come into the realization to open up your mind and really begin to really think. And now begin to see some things for what they are. To say, you know what? First of all, I am in danger of catching something that I can't get rid of. And in fact, I caught something, I was able to get rid of it, but it messed me up for a while.
In terms of, you mean physically or mentally?
Not so much mentally, but physically it messed me up for a while. I had to get some pills and stuff for about a month or 2. I was messed up.
So mentally, what did you think? Was it scary enough to be like, man, or did you go right back to messing around with different women?
It didn't have to do with the different women because I know where I got it. And I think that was the last time I messed with her. Let's be honest. Let's just be honest.
So you're saying that was the last time you messed with her. But in all reality, when you go having sex with somebody, you really don't know what they carry. So it could really be anybody.
Very true. But you're asking me about the mindset I had back then.
Okay.
And see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. When you have that type of mindset, it's really like you're playing Russian roulette. And you don't even understand the danger you're in. But the sadder part, I'm not just playing Russian roulette. Everybody I'm sleeping with is playing Russian roulette with me. And what's even sadder is, just like you said earlier, that many of the women say all men cheat. So you know you're playing Russian roulette with me. So how crazy is that for you? I would often think this. I used to have some serious issues because of some of the things that I've done to women back then, which I'd like to apologize to all of them now. But more so, when I would sit down and think about it, I would think more so than what was wrong with me, what was wrong with them
for allowing
to let me treat them like I treated them.
Well, they were broken, obviously. That goes into a whole different segment.
And I agree.
But, so I want to bring up the point, because it's this new era, and, I see a lot of men that they're saying they don't date black women. White women are more submissive. They don't give as much attitude. To me, if I was not black, that would be an insult, because basically what you're saying is I'm controllable and I'm a doormat. So in your day of dating, did you date different nationalities?
That too is foolishness, okay?
But did you date different?
Yes, I did. That's why I can tell you it's foolishness.
Okay.
It's many times what you're finding, and many men will get upset about this, but it's the truth. It's not that they have found in that white woman that she's weak. They go after weak women. So even if you see them date a black woman, a Hispanic woman, they're not going to date a strong woman too long because they prefer weak women. But I'll tell you, there's no difference in a white woman, a black woman, a Hispanic woman. I haven't dated any Orientals, but the ones that I've dated, white, blacks, Hispanic, there's no difference.
So it's all the same.
It depends on the woman.
In their personality.
It depends on the woman.
So it depends on the woman and their personality, per se, right? Because, this is just a whole new thing. So is this something that was back then that just, because trends recycle? So is this something when in your era growing up that men would say they didn't date black women too?
Of course they said it. Back then they were called the snow bunny. You want to get your snow bunny because she'll do this, she'll do that. But what I have found, white women would do whatever I wanted them to do. Some of them wouldn't. Black women would do whatever I wanted them to do. Some of them wouldn't. Hispanic women would do whatever it all depended on the woman.
So would it be safe to say weak men want weak women?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's weak men. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's men that like to control.
Which is weak.
I don't know if I'm necessarily, I would have to change. I don't necessarily say.
This is my perception. A strong man would want a strong woman next to him. Because at any time you want to control, that's an insecurity. Why do you want to control?
Okay. Once again, you have to come to the place where you're at here and where you're at here. Now you have a different mindset where I would not want a weak woman.
Okay, but let's take out mindset here, mindset there. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, a weak man wants a weak woman, because if you're a strong man, why would you want to control a woman? Why wouldn't you want your woman, girlfriend, significant other, whatever, to be able to voice to you and disagree with you?
Because again, if you can't take out the mindset, because as long as you're dealing with that old mindset, it's not just her you want to control, but you want to control everything around you.
But isn't that weak?
Well, you could say it was weak, but it has a lot, again, to do with not so much as being weak, but just not knowing any better. If you are in a place where you have been taught this is the thing to do, that's what you do.
Right.
Until you learn better.
So you were taught to control.
Pretty much. I was taught to control.
So you didn't, but you don't see that as a weakness?
Do I see it as a weakness now? In some sense, yes. Because today, no, if you don't have your own mind, I don't want to align myself with you.
Right.
Because I want to hear what you think. Because first of all, you will come to learn that when you're weak, for me, I could not respect you in a relationship if you're weak.
Why not? No, I get what you're saying.
No, I could not respect that.
Why not?
Because I am going to run over you. Because I have a dominant personality. And it may not even be intentional, but just because you're weak. But I'm not going to stay in a relationship with you anyway, because first of all, I got to respect your mind, even to the point where I'm interested in what you think. You follow me?
Right. And that's why I say to not be interested, to not be interested in what other people think is weak to me, because that gives you a world where whatever you say goes and there's no one to challenge you. And to me, if you don't ever want to be challenged, it's an insecurity.
Well, you could definitely say it's definitely an insecurity. But what I'm saying to you, you don't see it that way.
No, I'm pretty sure the person in the situation doesn't see it like that.
Okay.
I completely get that.
You don't see it.
But I'm saying identifying it, even if a person doesn't see it or not, when I identify and see that, to me, it's a weakness.
Oh, yes,
it's an insecurity.
okay.
Because, yeah.
I understand what you're saying now, yes. Then in saying it like you're saying it now, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, I would say it's definitely a weakness, because really, you're not going to really even try to get into a relationship where somebody's going to challenge you, or even to the point if you think they are strong enough, like a strong woman, you're not going to deal with her because she's going to challenge you, and really you're afraid that she's going to make you look bad.
But, well, I don't think a woman should ever, or a man, make their mate look bad. But if you don't challenge me, I wouldn't want to be with you.
No, it's not intentional to make you look bad by what they're doing. You feel like they're going to make you look bad just because of who they are.
Interesting.
See, I've seen many times where men have a problem if the woman is making more money than them.
Which is going in the same account, so what difference does it make?
Well, it doesn't to me. To me, it's foolishness. I went out with somebody recently, and I pay most of the time, and I have no problem with that. Okay, but to me, it's not. Well, it's the man's job to pay. No, we're in this together. So whoever got it, if I got it, you got it. You got it, I got it. And they feel the same way. But they handed me the money because they were paying that day, and I told them, I said, "Are you doing this for me,
or out of embarrassment?"
Or yeah, because I'm not embarrassed because you pay, because I know who I am.
Well, I'm going to be honest. When I was younger, when I was like in my early 20s, and my husband and I, we were married then, and I would pull out the card. Let's say, per se, he didn't have his wallet that day. And I would kind of give him the card because I was young. I was insecure. I didn't know who I was. But they don't know this is my husband. They don't know that we have a shared account. So I completely understand it. Now, I don't care who pulls out the account because I know it's coming from the same bank account.
Yeah.
But what is your perception on people that are in a relationship, not dating, but married, and they have separate accounts? I feel like a divided household can't stand.
I have a problem with that. Once again, when you don't know any better, I was that way when I was married. Okay? But today, I understand some things that I didn't understand then. So why would I have my own separate bank account and you don't have access to my bank account, or I don't have access to your bank account?
What do you feel about passwords then? Because that's a huge topic.
Same thing. If I'm married to, especially if I'm married to somebody, first of all, why would you marry somebody if you don't trust them?
Let's not even say married. Let's say we're dating. I'm dating somebody and
Okay.
they won't let me go through their phone. Or do you? Okay, I'm going to just ask that question and I'll ask the next one. So, just in dating terms.
You'd have to look at the fact of how long have you been dating?
Let's say we've been dating a year.
Okay. Now, once again, when you say to me dating, the only way I'm going to date you is I'm looking at this, I'm looking at we're going somewhere as far as this is leading up to marriage.
So
That's the
even
only reason I'm
okay.
dating.
So even back then, when you were out in the world and you were messing with this person, that person, did you date them or did you just casually have sex with them?
Okay, back when I was in the world, back before I made changes, that was totally different. Whether I
No, but did you make them think that you were dating them?
no, some of them I dated, some of them no. If they thought I was dating them, that was in their own head.
Because you never made them think that you were dating them.
No, I didn't make them think that I was dating them. I may not have exposed everything that I was doing, but
You didn't hide it.
I didn't really hide it. And I would tell them if they just weren't listening, my time was not free. So,
They had to pay you?
in their own right,
So you were like a male prostitute.
no, I wasn't a male
So what would
prostitute.
you call it? What would you call it? What would
No.
you call it?
Listen to what I'm saying. It wasn't that I was a male prostitute. What I'm saying to you, here I had somebody I was dating.
Okay.
This is my woman. This is my girl.
So what do you mean when you
No,
say your time wasn't free?
she's different. Me and her are in a relationship. The ones that I'm seeing on the side, they have to be bringing something to this.
Which is
I
what?
already have a woman.
Money?
More than likely, I need some money from you.
So then that's a male prostitute.
Well, you call it what you want, but you can't really call it a male prostitute because many times I was not sleeping with them.
So what were you giving them in exchange for this money?
They may have been getting something else. They wasn't getting that.
What?
They may have been doing something to me. I don't want to be vulgar and be explicit.
It was still sexual. So either way it go.
Okay, it could have been sexual, but they were pleasuring me. I wasn't pleasuring them.
Same thing. It's still a male prostitute. So you're a prostitute.
Right. If that's what you want to
So
call
we're
it.
going to go. It is what it is.
Okay.
If a woman was doing that, we would say she was prostitute. So you were a male prostitute.
If you want to say that.
Okay. So going back to, and this is just hilarious to me finding this out. But anyway, going back to what we were talking about in terms of relationships, because with passwords. So if I'm dating you for a year, should I be entitled to have your password? Or I hear people say, well, if someone is looking, and if they, what is the phrase? If you go look, you're gonna find something. In my head, that means if I look through your phone for whatever reason, then if I'm looking, then if I find something, I shouldn't have been looking. But I don't agree with that.
Well, I don't either. If we're in a relationship, it's no reason for me to hide things from you. Because, again, I just don't want to be in a
But
relationship.
I'm going to play devil's
Right?
advocate because people would say, I'm not hiding anything. I just want my privacy. What does that mean?
I don't understand what it means. Because, to me, if you're dating somebody, they should be your best friend. Right? What do you hide from your best friend?
Nothing.
Your best friend, you will usually give your best friend access to everything. They know things about you
That
that
nobody
nobody
else
else knows.
Right.
You'll tell them things. You'll let them see things. So if you have passcodes and passwords, all these things that you're hiding, then the question has to come out again, what are you hiding? And if you have that much to hide, again, I don't look at the person with the passwords and all these things. Again, I'm looking at you because if you know they have all these things and you can't see, then where do you really fit in their life? How important are you in their life? In fact, what if they die tomorrow? You can't get in their bank accounts, you can't get in their phone, you can't get in all this information that you need to get into, even possibly to bury them. You can't get in it because it's password protected. That's a problem within itself.
That's kind of deep. I never thought about that.
That's a problem.
So you counsel a lot of couples. There's a lot of people that are in relationships. Would you say there's a distinct difference between a healthy and a dysfunctional relationship?
Most definitely. Most definitely. But I see more dysfunctional relationships than healthy ones, which is very sad.
And some people would say, well, that's based on your opinion. What works for us may not work for you, which is true. I agree. Different people, different things work for different people. I completely agree. But I'm not saying different things. There's a distinct difference between dysfunctional and functional. Even when having conversations with people, because there's people that will come back and say, well, I talk to certain guys or certain women and they said, but my thing, I always ask, well, what is their mindset like? Right. Because you can ask anyone a question, but based on this is what determines what feedback you're going to get.
Correct.
So in closing, what would you give the viewers out there advice in terms of relationships?
As far as to say dysfunctional and functional?
I would say anything. What is the key thing that you would give a woman in a relationship when looking for a guy? Or men, whichever you want to address.
First of all, you say get away from the Bible, but I can't get away from the Bible because you can't really have a healthy relationship if you disregard God.
Okay, I need you to tell the viewers that, not me.
Yeah, I'm telling them, you cannot have a healthy relationship if you disregard God. Because in order to say that you love him, or in order to say that you love her, there's no way you can know what love is unless you have God. Because the Bible says that he is love. So how do you have love if you don't have him? What you have really is what you think, or a bad concept of what you think love is.
So a false perception of love.
It's really a false perception.
Got it. Thank you for joining us. This is Wayne Smith, the relationship expert. Until next time, as I always say, continue to break cycles and make sure you tune in to my YouTube, Talk with Saniyyah. See you next time. Peace.